Okay, multiplying and dividing. So square root 3 times square root 3. We can multiply the numbers underneath the root and get root 9, kind of like we saw in grade 8, whatever. So we know root 3 times root 3 is just multiply the numbers underneath. 3 times 3 is 9, as you can see in the notes. And we know that the square root of 9 is equal to 3. So instead of doing that middle step, we know that if we're doing a square root of something times the square root of something, we know the answer is just that something. Okay, quick little thing off to the right. 7 times root 5 is 7 root 5. Root 5 times 7 is also 7 root 5. Check your answer on your calculator. Okay, root 5, square root, forgot the 2, times square root 3. Well, multiply the numbers underneath the root. 5 times 3 is 15. Check your answer on the calculator. Circle all of your answers. Check all your answers on your calculator. Okay, so that's multiply the numbers underneath the root. Okay, let's take 3 square root 7. That 2 should be smaller. 3 square root 7 times 2 square root 3. Well, we're going to multiply the coefficients. 6 times 2 is, 3 times 2 is 6. And 7 times 3 is root 21. Circle your answer, check your answer on the calculator, make sure it's the same decimal. So we're simply going to multiply the numbers in front, multiply the numbers underneath. Off to the right, if there is no number in front or there is no number underneath, it just comes out of the sentence and you just multiply the numbers that are either in front or underneath and just leave the other number by itself. Down the page, we have another example, multiplying the number in front, multiplying the numbers underneath. And keep in mind, you may want to simplify a radical. Now, on the last page, we learned about how we can't add or subtract, unlike radicals. But what if we have, in the big box in the middle, the square root of 5 times the cube root of 5? Now, I'm going to do this perfectly this time. So, grade 9 exponent laws, we touched on it. Grade 10 exponent laws, we did a bunch of it. Changing to mixed form. So, this would be 5 to the 1/2 times 5 to the 1/3. Change it to fractional form. Oh, 1/3. That's the same mistake I made. Oh, sorry. To the 1/3. We just add the exponents. Now, if you don't know how to add fractions, go home and go to chapter whatever in grade 8 and learn how to add and subtract fractions. Either way, we have a lowest common denominator of 6. We need to expand the first fraction to be times top and bottom by 2. So 2 over 6. Expand the second fraction by 3. 3 over 6, and we'll get 5 over 6. Type it into your calculator. So you can't just multiply the numbers underneath and change the radicand to be 2 or 3, whichever. It's this. We could change it back to be the 6th root of 5 to the 5. The bottom becomes the root. Check your answer. Type in your calculator. Okay, more multiplying. So let's take a look at 3, 5 plus root 2. And let's distribute. So we can distribute going in. Now we know 3 times 5 is 15. And 3 times positive root 2 is just plus 3 root 2. Type the question in your calculator. Type the answer into the calculator. Make sure it's the same. So the second example, there is a 5 plus root 7 with a root 7 after. Well, distribute it backwards. 5 times root 7 is 5 root 7. And root 7 times root 7 is just 7, as we learned from the theory above. Type the question in type the question in, type whichever. Type the question in, type the answer in, make sure they're the same. Okay, FOIL. 2 minus root 3. Haha, I'm lazy. I'm not writing the tiny little 2. Close bracket times 1 plus root 5. Well, we have to FOIL. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times root 5 is positive 2 root 5. Minus 3 times 1 is minus 1 root 3. minus root 5 times positive root minus root 3 times positive root 5 is minus 3 times 5 is 15. And we don't have any like terms. Circle your answer. Type in the question, type in the answer. Remember, in the notes off to the right, if you see squared, you just have to FOIL the identical thing. Look at some division. So the square root of 6 over the square root of 3. Just a quick note, the review sheet doesn't have multiplication and division. The review sheet got so full, I had to put it in adding and subtracting. You know what? I'm going to look at it real quick. Yeah, there's a little bit of combo, adding, subtracting, whatever. But a lot of the review sheet from this section is in the grade 10 radicals review sheet. Either way, down at the bottom, root 6, bottom left, over root 3 equals, we can turn a single root into a single fraction. If we have the same type of root, it just becomes the square root of that. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, so it's just the square root of 2. Circle your answer. Type the question in, type the answer, and make sure they're the same. So a little bit more of that. So let's go for 10 square root 6 over 2 square root 3. And we can turn that into a single root equals, let's put 10 over 2 in front and 6 over 3 on the inside, still a square root. And 10 divided by 2 is 5. And 6 divided by 3 is 2. So square root 2. Circle your answer. Type it into the calculator. Make sure it's correct. So in the notes off to the right, there's two examples. Root 24 over root 8. You can either simplify the top and the bottom using grade 10 entire to mixed, or division theory, where you turn into a single root and then simplify. And notice the answer is the same. Great, so that's multiplying and dividing. So we've seen adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing in grade 11. We saw simplifying in grade 10. Now we're going to see some more complicated processes.